It means that its avyut is regarded as demerit and lack. Bechinat din contained in it, while it is in the Rosh, is apparent, meaning what is regarded as or istalkut, departure light, and din. Until now it was not apparent because of the importance of hamshacha, extension, and halbasha, clothing, that the or chozer performs. However, now that the or yashar has left and expanded from it, the bechinat din in it appeared.
The same avyut, the same forces, the same desire that was before, that was positive, to take the direct light, the or yashar, to put it into the kli, it now remains without these forces, and that's why the din is revealed. The or yashar has departed, and the or chozer discovers its avyut.
Aramaic inner light explains the words could not return to its source as in the beginning. In order to be contained in the or chozer of the Rosh, like the or yashar, the reason is that this is the or chozer that expanded and descended from above downward. It is in complete oppositeness to the or chozer, the Rosh, that stands there from below upward, meaning departs from hitlapshut, clothing. For this reason, they are distant from each other to the very ends, and it remains below.
His entire intention, his entire role is to receive in him the or yashar and to insert it into the partzuf, and when the or yashar departs, then it remains alone. Yes.
Item 9, inner light, explains the words, and then a greater avyut was added to this or av, meaning besides the avyut containing it from the beginning of its creation, meaning its or histalkut, departure, and din, further avyut has been added to it. It is so because it remained below without or, and this darkness is regarded as new avyut, coarseness, that was not contained in it before it expanded from above downward. Know that this new avyut was named achoraim, posterior.
Meaning, the or yashar that was clothed in the or chozer, in the reflected light, it took it, put it into the kli, and now this or yashar, the direct light, departed, and the reflected light gets an additional avyut, coarseness, from the additional light that was in it and now left, and this additional avyut is called the kli, the vessel. Meaning, where do we have these vessels from? Yesterday I was in a restaurant. I received. I enjoyed. Now it's departed, it left me. Yes, it left flavors in me. I now feel myself coarser, more dependent, more tied. My vessels got this new formation because of the flavors, and therefore I now am in a more scrutinized kli. Instead of galgalta, there is ab. Instead of ab, sag. Each time with greater avyut, with greater scrutiny than what he receives. In the beginning, it was the abstract or Ein Sof, and then we feel this light, in this light, more and more discernments. This is called that the expansion of the light, and its departure makes the kli worthy of its role. It builds the kli. Go on.
Item 3, the words of Dari. Though the or returned to its place in Itpashtut Bet, second expansion, over the Masach de Bechina Gimel, the or Av was still not revoked from being a Bechinat Kli, because the or Keter was missing in Itpashtut Bet, second expansion. If you say, when the or Zach comes down to be clothed in the Kli, will the Kli return and purify as in the beginning and stop being Bechinat Kli? The answer to that is that not all 10 Sefirot that rose to their source returned. Indeed, only the lower 9 descended, and the uppermost, namely Keter, remained forever with the Matzil, emanator. You now find that it's Or Chochmah that returned to clothe in Kli de Keter. Likewise, all the other Sfirot, and the Kelim can now receive and diminished Or of what they had in the beginning. Again, though the Or returned to its place in Itpashtut Bet, second expansion, over the Masach de Bechina Gimel, the Or Av was still not revoked from being a Bechinat Kli, because the Or Keter was missing in Itpashtut Bet, second expansion. If you say, when the Or Zach comes down to be clothed in the Kli, will the Kli return and purify as in the beginning and stop being Bechinat Kli? The answer to that is that not all the 10 Sefirot that rose to their source returned. Indeed, only the lower 9 descended, and the uppermost, namely Keter, remained forever with the Matzil, emanator. You now find that it is Or Chochmah that returned to clothe in Kli de Keter. Likewise, all the other Sfirot, and the Kelim can now receive a diminished Or of what they had in the beginning. Item 10, Inner Light, explains the Kli will return and purify as in the beginning and be annulled from being a Bechinat Kli. Because once the Or Yashar expanded in it once more and was limited inside its Avyut as in the beginning, the Avyut then draws a greater Or. Thus, once more, there is no apparent demerit in the Avyut, for the Or and the Kli are mixed together. Therefore, how did we later on come to note a difference between the Or and the Kli?
Yes, that's a question. Keep going.
Item 20, Inner Light, explains the words, when the light of Chochmah is the one who returned to clothe the Kli of Keter. It turns out that when each Sephirah lacks the fulfillment of the Ha'ara, illumination that she deserves, for the Or Chochmah does not fulfill the Kli de Keter, and Or Binah does not fulfill the Kli of Chochmah, etc. Thus, each Kli is left with some Avyut that does not clothe the Or. The measure of excessive Avyut that's been acquired during Histalkut Aleph, the first departure, does not stop there. Hence, there is a great need for the Or in the Kli that is left apparent. Again, it turns out that when each Sephirah lacks the fulfillment of the Ha'ara, illumination that she deserves,
meaning she's not fulfilled as she was before,
for the Or Chochmah does not fulfill the Kli de Keter, and Or Binah does not fulfill the Kli of Chochmah, etc. Thus, each Kli is left with some Avyut that does not clothe the Or. The measure of excessive Avyut that's been acquired during Histalkut Aleph, the first departure, does not stop there. Hence, there is a great need for the Or in the Kli that is left apparent.
Is that clear? What, Ray? What do you not understand? Yesterday, I was in a restaurant. I ate well, I got everything I wanted. Today I come and I get 20% less, both in flavor, in quantity, in everything. So my vessel remains empty. And it's very important. Those greatest lights, the most unique lights that I got yesterday, today, they're lacking. I have a desire, a deficiency, the difference between the fulfillments that I had before and the fulfillments that I have now. They beget new vessels. So I start discerning between the states. Yes?
Why are these new kelim? You have a deficiency for what you had yesterday.
Because before I didn't feel, I felt Naran Chai. And now I feel what I have today in comparison to what I had yesterday. The deficiencies, the advantages, it's a new kli. Didn't exist before, it's a new desire. Why don't I have what I had yesterday?
But in what is it new? Yesterday you had something and now you want what you had yesterday. So why is it something new?
Yesterday I could have bestowed 100%. Today I can bestow 80%. So I have a lack.
And where the 20%, where did they go to?
I can't. The strength disappeared.
What happened that all of a sudden I can't? Why could I yesterday and now I lack?
The Masach was purified as a result of the Bitush or Pnimi, inner light, and surrounding light. The surrounding light came in Partzuf of Gagalta. It made the Bitush in the Masach in Tabur, and it removes its strength. Why? Because I know that with respect to the surrounding light, which is the light of Ein Sof, it's the light of Gmar Tikkun, I can't receive it in order to bestow. So what's the benefit of receiving it now? I have no benefit, and that's why I'm purified. When I'm purified and I now receive in order to bestow, according to my strength, then other than that, what's revealed to me is to the extent I can, and I feel an addition, the freedom of the kli.
What makes it so that the tendency is not opposite? It makes sense that if I was able to do 10%, then tomorrow I will be able to do 15 and 20%. And before I could do 100%, and now it descends and descends.
From where will you get strength to do more? Why did you purify? The whole thing is the hizdachut, bitush. What does the surrounding light say? You're not reaching the end of correction. You didn't do anything. What did you receive? We say 20%. There isn't even 1% there. That's a very thin line in comparison to Ein Sof. So what did you receive? What did you do? What did you want? You wanted to do something in order to bestow. There's nothing. That's why it purifies. It purifies from its argument with the surrounding light. The surrounding light, the light of Gmar Tikkun. You reach Gmar Tikkun in such a way? No. So leave here. He feels this collision between opinions. So what have I done there? Where am I? And now, when he goes to receive, he's in Pederosh. Every state is in and of itself. And now when I'm in Pederosh, and I'm deciding what to do, because I have the opportunity to receive in order to bestow, to give contentment. To what extent? To whatever I can. As much as I can. So I go and I receive. And after I receive, I feel that it's even less than yesterday. It's less than before. This adds aviyut. Not that I received less, that I now identify, I now discover that it's less. Delve into these sensations, into these feelings, regardless of how correct they are or not. But it will give you internal feelings, what you do, how. It's a game. Yes?
You discover that the previous state is less, or
in comparison to the less, because the Reshimot in me are Daled Gimel, meaning I compare myself to Daled, and I have Gimel. I see that I bestow less upon the Creator with the greatest light, or Yechida is no longer existent. Yes?
And if you now have an additional aviut and you have the ability to receive upon this additional aviut, doesn't mean that you're greater than the previous state?
No.
Why?
Because the calculation isn't according to the coarseness, to the aviut, but according to the extent I can bestow. I don't bestow in aviut, I bestow by aviut, but I do it as much as I can receive in order to bestow. Receiving in order to bestow is considered that I receive in vessels that aren't mine. It's like what we spoke about in the first lesson today. It already follows the tzimtzum, the restriction. It's after I go through that eye of the needle to the spiritual plane, to the spiritual area where I start working with the vessels of the Creator, not with my own will to receive in order to receive that I had, but with the desire which is in order to bestow. And then, in the vessels of the Creator that I begin to work with, that's where I start examining, I start checking, what can I fulfill them with? I fill the host. I filled it with Naran Chai, and now I fill him only with Naranch, and then with Naran. What is this? I want to fill it more, and it turns out less, meaning deficiencies accumulate in me, which are true, that I cannot fulfill the host, and I go down and down and down through all the 5 worlds to zero, and I shatter along the way, and so on. All of that with the hope to fulfill him, and every time to renew the work, maybe to give something more to bestow, something more to fulfill him, to taste something more for him. That's for him. My flavors are his pleasure. And I try, and there's nothing. Until after the shattering, at the very end, I begin to receive the ability to truly rise. Yes?
So according to the example of the restaurant, at the end you reach a state where you enter the restaurant and you can receive nothing. After I came back a few times, at the end you simply go there and receive nothing. And then what happens?
Right.
Is that it?
No, look, you have a desire to devour the entire restaurant. Your ability, 0. And now you have a state from which you can start developing, to start developing new vessels. That before it seemed to you that you did this yourself, as if it's spirituality, so it's still not like that exactly, but let's say. And now you feel that you are dependent on the light that reforms. As much as you'll be given to bestow, you'll bestow. So now your vessels will be truly in order to bestow.
The first time you go into the restaurant, this is on my own expense. I go there with my own kelim.
No, first you also got strength and ability from above. It's all from Ein Sof, but you weren't aware of it. It's like a little child that's given everything and then he's told, stop, now you need to do it. You need to earn it. So he starts understanding what really happens. Beforehand, he didn't value it, and it was clear to him that it's his own. Yes?
The purpose of the purification of the Masach is to try and bestow below the taboo. This is why the Masach keeps purifying?
No, the Masach is purified because even that same portion that he received, he sees that by that he does not reach the end of correction.
Because it doesn't go below the taboo. This is why.
He doesn't have strength for this, but even in the state that he's in, he got, let's say, 20%. The Or Mekif comes and says, well, what do you get from that? You have a circle and you got a thin, thin line, so there's nothing. What will you do? Your action revealed to you, to the extent you're not acting, you're not bestowing, meaning your path was an error. It was wrong. It was mistaken.
And what was the mistake? I took more than I could process and bestow. That was the mistake.
No, the vessels weren't correct. How can you, in these vessels, bestow upon the Creator?
And then I tried to create a kli with a lesser level of aviyut.
No. I have no choice. When I now go back after these dakhut to Peh of Rosh, then what's revealed to me are new vessels. That on the one hand it's less than before, on the other hand it's more than before. It's less than before. Less than before is in adhesion. More than before, it's in the intensity of bestowal. The Ab that bestows does it through Galgalta. And it's coarser. And if I bestow with all of my ability, but in conditions that are worse, then my bestowal to the Creator is greater. And when I do bestow and I receive these lights are more scrutinized. Meaning I now understand through which flavors and what exactly I'm causing the Creator. This proximity, this distance brings me more flavors, more... Well, it won't really help.
This is a result of the Ochozer, reflected light, right?
Right.
It's the same aviyut within the Ochaziyut, the aviyut that we're talking about?
It's the same aviyut that was now being added because the pure light left me and I'm only remained with the thick light, with the Or Av. So the same discernments that I had before that were fulfilled with lights that I bestowed upon the Creator, they won't be realized. I wanted to bestow, and I see that I don't bestow. The host says, what, you took a piece of bread and look what you have here. And therefore, my coarseness became greater, more scrutinized. And that's why, even if I receive in a way that is smaller, but it's more qualitative. But I take Galgalta, Ta'ab, and the light that I bestow upon the Creator is, instead of light of Nefesh in Galgalta, is already the light of Ruach. Because I draw it in Ab below the Galgalta, meaning I have two vessels, Keter or Chokhmah, and so on. Yes?
Last question. So in item 6, inner light, he says, and the reason is because the aviyut that is revealed in the Ochozer while it expands from above downward. How can Ochozer expand from above downward?
Its aviyut is revealed. Again, in Galgalta there were two lights. Inner light, that this Or Pnimi includes Or Yashar, direct light, and Or Chozer, reflected light. The Masach is purified until Peh of Rosh. The Or Yashar is disappeared. There is returning light. When the returning light is without the Or Yashar, an aviyut is added to it. Right? He feels himself as empty. I did in order to bestow, and now I didn't. I have a reshimo. It's like I made a mistake. I didn't succeed. This adds aviyut. That's why in Ab the aviyut is greater.
And the expansion from above downward is from the side of the Kli. The Kli feels that Or Chozer, that it comes to it from above.
That meets from above in Peh of Rosh, again in the host, that tells him, I'm all for you, do it, receive, enjoy. And he does the calculation again. He does, how should he say? It makes this, it bridges, it makes this connection, this compromise. As much as he can, as much as he can't, and he calculates. And he receives in order to bestow under the current conditions. He can't say, I am now not receiving anything, because he has the opportunity to receive even a little bit.
But this is Or Choser, reflected light.
Or Choser.
And this is the result of a bitush, Or Choser is.
The Or Choser of the Ab is a lot more than the Or Choser of Galgalta. It is less in force and more in quality. That's how it works. From above down, all of this expansion brings us the new qualities, mainly, but it's on the account of the intensity of the Masach.
Meaning the Or Choser that comes from Galgalta Ab experiences it as light that expands to it from above downward, although it is Or Choser from below upward.
Of course, it's born entirely from Galgalta. There at the end.
The whole process from above downward, is it the recognition of evil?
Look, we're talking about the system. That's why you can say recognition of evil, but all in all, it's the system that was built. There isn't the internality there. There isn't a person there called the system of Adam. It's after all the expansion of the system, where it was created, and with a very special Bchina that's revealed later on. But you could say this, that it's recognition of evil, that the created being doesn't have the ability to bestow upon the Creator of what, according to what the Creator wants to bestow upon him. The system is revealed that has all of the degrees of the relations between the Creator and the created being, between the will to receive and the will to bestow, between the vessel, the lights and the masachim, the screens. But it's only a system. There isn't someone that's in the system that's actually used it. The person that was created as a result of that system, in a way that when he connects to that system, he has all of the opportunities and possibilities to use it and to bring himself from zero or from a shattered state to, how should I put it? To rule Malchut of Ein Sof.
And that is the point of restriction we speak of, that starts turning around into the direction of bestowal?
Yes, a person who begins after the shattering to rise in the ladder, it means that he passes the point of tzimtzum, of restriction. Yes.
Can we read first half of Inner Light, item 6 and item 5, and explain it?
The first part of Or Pnimi.
Item 5 starts with the words, because the Or Choser in the Rosh.
Because the Or Choser in the Rosh is connected with the essence of Or Yashar, and it's Zach, as it is, without any change whatsoever. And even though it is Or Histalkut, which is Pchinat Din, it is still not manifested, but only to the vessels of reception. However, in the Rosh, where there is no Itlapshut whatsoever, there aren't vessels there. In the Rosh, there is only intentions. It is not at all regarded as Din. Moreover, it is regarded as the very source of Rachamim, for it extends and connects takes the Eser Sfirot, the Or Yashar, and brings them from above downwards into the Kli. Well, thus it is connected to the essence of the Or Yashar, as there is nothing to tell them apart. To tell what apart? That the Or Choser, returning light, and direct light, when they expand from above downwards, they're equal. He's telling you, what's the difference between the Or Choser that takes the direct light, puts it in the Kli, and what's the difference between them, that the Or Choser needs to expel the Or Yashar from the Kli, and what happens when the Or Choser, when the Or Yashar, when it's without Or Choser. So the Or Choser, the result is that the Or Choser got this additional aviyut, and this additional coarseness is called a Kli. Before that, there wasn't a Kli. Two lights that clothe in one another isn't a Kli. When one light, in comparison to the other light, receive aviyut, in comparison to the first light, in comparison to the Creator, Or Yashar is the Creator. So when the Or Choser, the reflected light, the will to bestow of the created being, when it feels to the extent that it can't equalize with the bestowal of the Creator, that is called a deficiency. That is called a Kli. Is that clear? Otherwise, what is the difference between the Creator and the created being? One wants to bestow, and so does the other. But when they feel this gap that they're in, that's called a Kli. Yes, Ariel.
Can
I ask about something else, about translation?
Yes, it's the end of the lesson. Go ahead.
I asked you before, we translate the morning lesson programs like New Life, and I asked you which words...
By the way, where's Oren? I recommend to watch the last lesson of A New Life.
I asked you which words should we translate or not. You said concepts are not to be translated. So I wanted to know, how do you know what is a concept, notion that needs to be translated or not?
It's hard to say in one word, because Or Yashar, for example, is that a term or not? On the one hand. On the other hand, Keter, Chochma, Bina. Obviously, they need to remain with such names. Galgalta, Ab, and so on. In other words, if it's definitions that they're brought from the wisdom of Kabbalah only, then of course, then you leave them as they are in Hebrew. If they're such that they have an analogy or a translation, let's say Or Yashar, direct light. Okay, I don't know. I would leave everything, because it brings all these imaginations, and it's better not to have that. Still, you can... What would you say? His zakchut. What would you say? That it gets rid of aviyut? Besides, we understand that Hebrew came to us from above. All of its words, all of its letters, they're all the expression of the attitude between vessels and lights. And that is why, when you say a word, then you can later on interpret this word. You can divide it into different parts and explain why, explain the inner meaning of that word. It's something that's more complex. I don't know, I would only translate words that are really between these definitions. Yes.
There are some things I heard you say once, which are like mantra. like Rav Pa'ali Mekabtze'el, Mocha, Atzamot, Basar, Gidin, and Or. There, Enod Milvado is also the same.
Yes, of course.
So every time you said Enod Milvado, I shouldn't translate it to the audience?
No, they need to know what it is already. It's like a mantra, like you're saying.
And what about new life? Because there it's an audience which doesn't know those terms so much.
That's something else. Depends who you're translating for. If I'm speaking to someone foreign or new, then I talk to them in like a civilized, regular language, as it's custom between people. What else start pouring on him the definitions? Of course not. But you're right. But there too, I don't really use words from the wisdom of Kabbalah. Maybe I do sometimes. And then Oren stops me and then he says, it's preferable to speak in a way that's clear for everyone. New Life are shows for the broad audience.
First of all, there are more translators. Perhaps they also have some questions. I hear when you say terms like Kli, Or, Masach, Hashpa'a, such things.
All of that in Hebrew.
But in congresses and when you give lessons in Russian, I hear you say Ekran, Svet. You do translate it.
It's again, I got used to talking in Russian to beginners. But really, our lessons, our daily lessons, no, I don't think you should. To our students, to students that are with us together, they need to know. They need to know. How do doctors use Latin or musicians use Italian? You have a lot of these things in every science, in every wisdom. You have a lot of such definitions which belong to the same science. There's nothing you can do about it. Yes, Chaim's probably going to say something.
Definitions like Keter Chorma Bina, that's clear.
Because they don't have any analogy in the translated language.
They have no analogy, and it's also something very, very specific. Words like Izdakhut, for example, we can say Izdakhut, Mizdakech, Zach, such things. For us, it's the same word. For someone else from overseas, there are 3 words that he needs to learn. For all these words that we speak of, which are not something very defined, you have all the different ways we use it in Hebrew. But if Hebrew is not your mother tongue, for each such word, you have 5 words which are similar that you need to study.
You're right. I'm putting my hands up. I don't know. Still, this term, Izdakhut, yeah, we'll have to explain it.
This is why usually what we do is when we're talking about the word itself, let's say Izdakhut, so we write Izdakhut with Latin letters, but in Hebrew. And we also attach to it some translation, and then we use them both. This is one thing. Another thing, also during the morning lesson, we have parts which are meant for more inner parts or more external parts. So here too, there is a question to what extent we should translate. Obviously, in test, we should use more Hebrew, but the 3rd hour, should it be so much Hebrew as well?
No, the last part of the lesson is for the broader audience, usually. And we speak not in the language of Kabbalah, but around. We are interested for everyone to hear this, even those that don't study Kabbalah, but are interested around it. That is why The translation should be a lot more freestyle. You feel this better than me. You know the audience. I have nothing to say. But only the names themselves that are clear nouns, they need to stay. What are you going to translate keter to crown? Yes.
The question is, let's say we teach preface in English. There are words, the word means something. Should we have the assumption that no one understands what tam, flavor is, and then you have to translate it? Because when Bala Sulam says Malchut, I will reign, or Nekudot, points, which the concept carries some scent, some meaning that helps a person to emotionally connect to the term and say, well, you don't understand it anyway, so...
No, alongside with giving the name, you can add your explanation.
So I do need to translate it to his language to bring this term closer to him to some extent.
I think that those who know Hebrew, when he hears Nekudot, what does he know? But gradually, slowly, he begins to understand from the study that he builds in him this image. Guys, what can we do? We're leading the path. We're trying. I trust you guys. There isn't any wise as the experienced, and you're in this, so decide, see what to do. It's possible to have books that are more in this, less in that, different styles of translation. Succeed. After all, the Creator is holding your hand and doing what is needed. By that,
moving on to the next part of the lesson, but before we do, let's sing a song together.
איך כל דממה דקה יהפוך לשיר, והלילה החשוך יהיה כיום בהיר, העיניים נפקחות מעל ההיגיון, ואתה הוא הראשון וגם האחרון. על ים סיני שמתגלה נחת אור לטוב, נוריד ראשינו נתחבא כשהגל קרוב, יש מגדל אור נותן כיוון, אור עוד לא קבע, ומעל כל הפשעים כיסוי של אהבה. נעורר את השחר, נעורר את השחר, בתפילה עבור החברים. נעורר את השחר, נעורר את השחר, והאור יאיר בין השברים. איך הרע שמתגלה יהפוך לטוב, בכל מקום בחמלה שאתה קרוב, כאיש אחד בלב אחד, כאש שחר והאור יאיר בין השברים יאיר בין השברים
השיעור מבוסס על מאמרים מהספר כתבי בעל הסולם. את הספר ניתן להוריד באתר קבלה לעם, kab.co.il.
Hello, we're reading in A Sage's Fruit, Essays, the wisdom of Kabbalah and its essence. We're reading the commandment is a candle, a teaching is a light. Sorry, we're reading a bit before. Spiritual has no imagination. You can't imagine it. That's why it has no letters to express. Even if we generally say that it's a simple light that we can show, which is enough to show it, that's also like borrowed. Since everything that is anything you can name in the spiritual world as light does not resemble the light of the sun or the light of the candle. Everything, what we call light in the spiritual world, is a metaphor from the human mind, and it comes only to remove the doubts. It shows you the abundance of light and pleasure in the level of the body. That's why we sometimes say the light of the mind, the light of the sechel, even though it's not true, because the light that shines from the parts of the human body, which is not worthy of resolving the problems, is certainly less than the mind. That's why even the lesser organs can understand and attain it.
Meaning, we can't give exactly an example from our world, in our body, in our state, where we are. What does it mean, light? Because in spirituality, it expands and able to receive. It's the light of the intellect, the light of emotion, has many such influences. And here, one doesn't belong to the other. So how can you connect to the light that expands what we feel in the rosh, in the head, and what we feel in the foot? It's a problem, whereas the spiritual body works entirely in bestowal, that same essence. Yet, Yet, to be able to name the mind by some name, we call it the light of the mind. Similarly, we call the elements of the reality of the upper worlds light, as they bring those who attain them abundance of light and pleasure throughout the body, from head to toe. For this reason, we may call one who attains clothing, for he has clothed that light. We might ask, would it not be more correct to call them by names used in scrutiny, such as observation and attainment, or to express oneself with expressions that emphasize the phenomena of the noetic mind? The thing is that it is nothing like the conduct of the noetic phenomena, since the mind is a particular branch among all the elements of reality. Hence, it has its own ways of manifestation. This is not so with degrees, as they are a complete whole, which contains all the elements that exist in the world. Each element has its own particular ways. For the most part, the perception of matters and degrees is similar to the perception of animate bodies. When one attains some essence, one attains the whole of it, from head to toe. And if we judge by the laws of the noetic mind, the observing mind, we can say that it has attained everything he could attain in that essence. And even if he contemplated it for another 1,000 years, he would not add to it even an iota. Yet in the beginning, it is very similar to ... meaning he sees everything but understands none of what he sees. Yet by the passing of time, he will have to attain additional matters similar to Ibur, conception, Yenika, nursing, Mochin, adulthood, and a second Ibur. At that time, he will begin to feel and use his attainments in every way he wishes. However, in truth, he did not add a thing to the attainments he had achieved in the beginning. It is rather like ripening. Previously, it was unripe, hence he could not understand it, and now its ripening has completed. Thus, you see the big difference between the conducts of noetic phenomena. For this reason, the definitions we are accustomed to using will not suffice for us with noetic phenomena. We are compelled to use only the conducts that apply to corporeal matters, since their shapes are completely similar, although their substance is utterly remote.
Nonetheless, as much as we want to express spirituality in all the corporeal forms, it doesn't work. We can give some example as if something that resembles, etc., very specific partial forms, but in truth there is no resemblance between the two, because the kelim are different. In spirituality we use the kelim of the Creator, vessels of bestowal, even though for us it works in vessels of reception in order to bestow, but nonetheless these are vessels we receive from above. This is why now we can't talk about them and can't compare them with corporeal vessels. You can't at all, because regarding spiritual vessels, to begin with, I use the desire of the host. I work in his territory. It's as if we're sitting in the two ends of a table, but whatever I do is only to take into account his desire. How much I fulfill Him, how much I feel He is big and how much I can bestow to Him, and accordingly how much I can rise above my personal will to receive. Meaning my calculations here are such that you don't have in your corporeal kelim. That's why it's very difficult for us to imagine spiritual or to describe spiritual actions. It's impossible unless just you cut off a little bit of an action, a segment, a fragment, or something, a piece. And then we can somehow find some parallel line with it. Questions? You don't even have questions. Yes, Niv.
One of the questions that repeats every time is, what is bestow? This question repeats itself over and over.
This is something we can imagine. When I want to bestow unto you, I make of my will to receive, I make it into zero regarding myself, and all of it is to you, for you. It has to be this way, not half of it, not 1/4 of it. Rather, in this action, I have to restrict my will to receive in order to receive, meaning the part that's for myself, and make my calculation how much I, with my will to receive, which is my force, how much I can fulfill your will to receive. Meaning I have to feel your will to receive and to use it just as I did before with my own will to receive. And to work this way. That's the meaning of bestowal.
The first question is, why 0? Why not 1/4 or half? Why some?
I can't work with your will to receive and my will to receive in the same direction. Of course, I'm working with my will to receive, but after it went through a tzimtzum, a restriction, and I have the ability to work with your will to receive just as if it's mine. And to that extent, I have adhesion, dvikut with you.
We say there's a desire and there's an intention.
Yes?
It's related here. What do I restrict here? What do I make 0? The desire? There's 2 desires, and what's in between them? How do I begin to work with the other's desires if it's mine?
To the extent that I have a desire to bestow to you, I work with my will to receive to bestow to you. In order to bestow to you. In order means my intention.
And then what? I feel the desire of the other. I stop working.
I receive the desire of another instead of mine. And I use my desire as a means.
It's like fuel. It's like a force that I activate in a certain direction.
How do you fulfill your child? He's crying out, Daddy, I want this toy. So, you have nothing to do with that desire for a toy he has. However, because you love him, out of love, you with all your abilities, with all your desires, regarding yourself, you restrict them. You take his desire and your desire that you love him. So you work with your desire to fulfill his desire. That's the meaning of make his desire yours. Dnieper.
Вопрос из Москвы, от Димы.
Question from Dima from Moscow. Initially, as we come to know the wisdom of Kabbalah, there's an illumination that comes to you where you feel like you want to bestow to everyone everything. Is there some parallel between this state in the feeling and the state we have to reach with restriction, the state of delighted in mercy, chafetz chesed, and so on?
No, I wouldn't say that these states resemble each other. You may feel after a time that a true desire comes to you to bestow to others, and it really doesn't come from you. It's a result from above, from bestowal from above. The bestowal from the surrounding light, from the light that reforms, is felt in our will to receive in such a way that it's clear to us that it doesn't come from me. It's clear, it doesn't come from me. Rather, I got this special relation from above. Yes.
I'm going back to the example you gave to Niv. When my kid wants a toy, why do I need to restrict myself? I add his desire to mine.
Did you want this toy as well? What he's asking for?
No, but I add. Why do I need to restrict?
Because what do you add?
A desire. And now, the guy wants coffee, so I make him coffee. Where's the restriction?
What about your desire?
I have my desire, and I add the desire.
How do you add one desire to another? Previously, you wanted to sleep. Now he wants coffee.
If one comes at the expense of the other.
Do you work with your desire to sleep, or don't you?
Yes.
What do you mean, yes? You go to sleep, or you make coffee?
Okay.
That's the meaning of restriction. You're not dealing with your desire. You always have only one desire you fulfill, you're engaging in. More? Ask. Go ahead. If you don't, well, let's continue. In short, we have a problem here with this matter, the spiritual expressions. Until we feel them, we won't know what it's about, and even when we do know, we can only pass them on to the ones who understand, who are with us in the same olam, the same world, spiritual or corporeal one. But for someone who's in a spiritual world, he has no chance to pass on his emotional impression, because it's all in the emotion. You have no chance to pass it on to someone in the lower world. Yes.
Rav, we say
that everything that was created in reality is light and vessel. And you explained to Niv that I have a desire, my kid has a desire, and because I have this thing called love, I go and restrict my desire and work with his desire.
Yes.
What is this love? From the perspective of lights and vessels, not emotionally.
Love means that you can feel the kli of another as your own kli, and even beyond that.
And how can this desire have this quality? How does one desire get love to another desire? What is it?
Oh, that's something else. That's how can we communicate with each other at all? It's because we all came from one system, from one soul, Adam Arishon. That's why we have the connections between us. And we depend on each other, and we envy each other. We're in competitions and connections of friendship and love. Everything stems from that system.
So
you can say that love is a certain feeling of the corrected state?
Love stems from... It depends on what level we're speaking. The fact that I love ice cream. So, I love ice cream. What does love mean here? That in my will to receive, I feel that this fulfillment gives me pleasure. Well,
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that there are two desires.
There is no other love.
And suddenly there's connection between them. What is the connection? Where does it come from?
A fulfillment. Fulfillment. You yourself say there is nothing except for light and kli.
זאת אומרת שאני מגיע למצב למלא את
Meaning, I get to a state where to feel the other becomes fulfillment of myself.
Because you feel his vessels as your own. Because the truth is, you were together in the past, and now you feel some attraction, some proximity to him, of course. To the extent that you feel, make his desire yours or your desire his, to that extent it's considered that you come closer to him and you love him.
So, if we're going to talk about our state in our work in the 10, in order to begin to love the friend, I have to come to a feeling of the system.
Of course we have to, of course. What are we doing in the 10? We're trying to revive that system in the corrected way. Now it's broken, shattered, corrupt. The situations between ourselves are broken, and we're trying to forcefully bring ourselves to the corrected state. So I don't love you, I don't feel you, I'm not close to you, and I perform actions as if I am. And because of this, as if, the light that reforms comes and brings us closer, nonetheless.
Meaning the source, the origin of love is that we used to be connected.
Of course, everything stems from that. And now, by our imagination, we are disconnected.
So maybe another step forward. What is hate that appears between two parts? Shattering?
Yes, it's a result of the shattering. What do you mean? Look, you have to think about it, because such questions... Please.
We continue in the part, 4 languages are used in the wisdom of truth. 4 languages are used in the wisdom of truth.
What is the wisdom of truth? It's called the wisdom of Kabbalah, or the wisdom of truth. It's what reveals the true reality, not the false reality where we're in. That's why it's called the wisdom of truth. Simple. So, in order to explain to us where you are, blind, deaf, etc., so there's a wisdom that explains to us gradually, bit by bit. It explains where we are, and it explains how to renew the senses in a way that we can reveal the world that we call truth, the world of truth. That's the wisdom is called the wisdom of truth. So there are 4 languages for the wisdom used in the wisdom of truth.
And they are: 1, the language of the Bible, its names and appellations; 2, the language of the law, this halacha. This language is very close to the language of the Bible. 3, the language of legends, which is Haggadah, which is very far from the Bible, since it has no consideration of reality. Strange names and appellations are attributed to this language, and also it does not relate to concepts by way of root and its branch. 4, the language of Sfirot and Partsufim. In general, sages had a strong inclination to conceal it from the ignorant, since they believed that wisdom and ethics go hand in hand. Hence, the first sages hid the wisdom in writing using lines, dots, tops, and bottoms. This is how the alphabet was formed with the 22 letters before us.
That's it. You see where we got the Hebrew language and the forms, the letters, the appellations and everything. It's all because when man reveals reality, and out of the reality he reveals the spiritual reality, he gradually, nonetheless, does bring it closer to the imaginary reality, the corporeal one. Questions? Yes.
If the shape of the letters is a result of spiritual attainment,
Of course. Yes.
how can we explain that the ancient Hebrew writing is very different than ours right now?
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is one thing. If you address the people who actually understand the writings, the ones who write the Book of Torah and the mezuzahs, they'll tell you that the rules here are so precise and so complicated, and these rules are handed out for generations, for thousands of years. Well, if someone writes it differently, well, you can write something in Hebrew, someone else will write it differently, and you'll see what the handwriting of each one, how he writes. We're not talking about that. There's the writing of sofer, like an author, with all these signs, the dots, the tops, the bottoms. It's a connection to the spiritual world in our world, the way from up down, from right to left, the dot and all that. It's all according to the spiritual forces that we give them such an expression in the corporeal picture. And it cannot change. Because all in all, you have nothing besides light and kli. The light of Chokhmah, the light of Chasadim, and the relationship between the two is the entire reality. That's why you can describe the entire reality only with kavim, igulim, lines and circles. But it's all light and kli. Lights and vessels cascade into our world, building such a desire which is severed from the truth, from spirituality, and giving all the imaginations to it. That's the language. That's the problem, the way we use the depiction of spiritual forces for our matter. But the truth is, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, there is no ancient writing or modern one. It's a big problem to explain all these things, and also in general how we use the letters and. Okay, more. Quickly.
Turns out that if you don't use the appropriate language for the generation, you get a totally different interpretation. Meaning someone who gets stuck with the language of Haggadah and now has to study the language of Kabbalah.
No, I'm not going into all the confusions that all the people who just open the book and read have. That's not important for us. We're talking about how we use it for our matter in order to attain the truth. That's it. The way things are in our world, it's all confused. There's no need to research it and to settle it. Yes, Alex.
Great friends from UK.
Good.
Please. Chris, no?
Come on, Chris.
We've been asked to speak about our preparations for the Italian Congress, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. And I'm pleased to report that the Friends met today over Zoom, and we spoke about venues that we're going to have for the Italian Congress. Some of the Friends in the UK are going to try and make the Italian Congress as well, so we hope that we can support the Friends in any which way we can. I think that we've learnt a lot from the last Congress. We're going to make sure that we're very well prepared, and we hope to give ourselves completely over to the efforts that the whole of the Italian group is making for the preparation for that Congress. So we're with you. We're 100% with you. We'll give you all of our force, and we'll bow down before you and do whatever we can to support the Congress.
tonight there will be a meeting, content meeting, during the time of the women lesson. All the tens are invited, all the tens of Europe. By the way, everybody is invited. And Raf, how important it is to come to such a meeting and prepare the content of the Congress?
Whatever is related to the convention is very important. I don't know what exactly you're about to do in this assembly, but all the preparation for the Congress, I engage in it every day. Part of my time is dedicated for that. And today I really want to talk about it in my conversation with the women. We have to understand that preparation for the Congress is advancement in our path. What does preparation mean? If I'm not part of the organization, why is that important for me? Someone else is organizing the hotel, someone is organizing the lessons or the systems, but I have to increase my preparation for connection every day. It's not a preparation for connection, it's connection that increases every day, and I have to be in it. That's my spiritual kli. That's what I build. And I really hope that now we're here, we're reaching a new quality of our spiritual vessel, which will be established around this opportunity. In this case, it's a Congress in Europe, in Italy, it doesn't matter. What matters for us is that we can all gather around it and use this stimulation, this reason, in order to unite. Because all in all, the only thing we're missing is the connection in more quality and more quantity, till we can draw such light that reforms that will give us the opportunity to rise above our will to receive and to be connected. In this moment, we discover the spiritual degree in the Creator. Therefore, for me, to be in a preparation for a Congress is to constantly think how we are connected, how we're gathering, what else are we missing in order to unite more. We have many groups and individuals. If we could connect them all together, we wouldn't be in the first degree. We would be jumping into the spiritual world already. And so we really should dedicate all our strength to that. We see how this is what Rabash writes in all the different places. So let's relate to it seriously. Each one has to see himself that he is in the gathering, in the connection already, advancing every day. That's it.
We'll do it in tents, in breakout rooms. We'll do workshop. How important is it that everybody comes? Because you might say, I'm not so important for the for development of content. I do something else.
I go into anything. I go everywhere. If it pertains the content of the Congress, the lessons, the songs, you send them in advance, the questions, the workshops, all the unity evenings, everything. The only thing I don't go into is the food. I'm not gonna examine it. It's not my business. I don't understand. And also the conditions. It's the local thing. But what relates to connection, the way you sit, in tens and eights, men, women, what's going on with the children. In short, everything Is this our own compound or someone else will be there? I go into everything, even though I don't need it. I don't need it. I come with my laptop. I have my lessons recorded. I have the text there. I can, even if I don't have, you can give it on the spot. You can give me the text, and I'll just give the lesson. But I see it when I take part in it. I see myself a part of it. I belong to it. I want to advance because of it. It's my kli, and that's really good for everyone. For everyone, it's good. You should be interested in it, be emotionally involved in everything. Okay?
Another question from the content team. Content team, after this evening, still they feel not that the material is not prepared, not ready, and they ask, should they send it to you anyway? Or to make a meeting when it's more prepared?
What do you mean, the material? The lessons themselves? The content of the lessons, or even the names of the lesson? I don't have anything. I have nothing. I don't even have the names of the lessons. I didn't get anything. And I don't know who's in charge of it. But I asked for it a few times. And they disrespect me.
Send it to you even if it's not so ready, if it's preliminary.
The only thing I can say is one thing. After you prepare everything, you'll think it's the final and you send it to me, I can strike it all out and bring it back for you to work on it more. That's why when you say your final form, it's a waste of time. It's not the way to do it. If you want me to be involved in it, make your effort and send what you have. At least that. I don't understand you here. What are you doing? Don't you understand how much? By this, you're preventing your own advancement. Well, what can I do? What the mind doesn't do, time will. That's it? No. What?
There's a daily task.
What do you want to say? About the women's evening?
Question from Haifa. Even tonight we'll have a lesson draw for the women kli. What should be the right intention towards our gathering?
Be in the right intention. All the women should be connected throughout the day, at least, if not forever. What can I say? It's the same intentions all the time. Yes, Malkiel, what's going on?
Daily task from Nipper. Throughout the day, I'm concerned I care that the friends will reach a state where they invest efforts in order to reach that I want nothing for myself, the state of zero, in mind and in heart. In the evening, we discuss how we can hold on to the state in the 10. Again, throughout the day, I care that the friends will reach the state of investing efforts in order to reach I want nothing for myself, the state of zero, in mind and in heart. In the evening, we discuss how we succeeded in holding on to this new state in the 10. Zohar lesson. You're welcome to watch the Zohar lesson tonight, 6 p.m. Israel time, on Kabbalah.tv. Friends are invited to a special Kabbalah lesson and a festive meal tomorrow, Friday morning Israel time, 2:45 a.m. in Petach Tikva. To our RSVP 1-700-509-209. Thank you to our TV viewers. Together in the Academy, we are opening a special course for BA. You're invited to an introduction on Friday, June 8th in Petach Tikva. Now we're going to enter into special gratitude together. From Rav's words, at the end of the lesson, to sit quietly and be grateful. Be grateful that we had a beautiful lesson and we tried to be aimed at you as much as possible. And now we are coming out of the gathering between us, and you will keep us connected on top of all of life's occurrences that we will surely absorb now. And now a song.
בשדה קוצים גדול קורא אני בקול תפילת הלב אל המרום עד ינוסו הצללים מבין הערפילים עם שחר הקיץ מהחלום
את החי מבקש אני הם חיי הם נשמתי בלעדיהם אני לא קיים
את החי מבקש אני הם חיי הם נשמתי בלעדיהם אני לא קיים עמוק בתוך הלב את החי סוחב ובתוכי בוער כלהבה
עבדו העקבות אבל רוחות טובות יובילו אל ים האהבה